Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about the astonishing Deborah Ann Woll Hollywood Celebrity Dungeons and Dragons presentation, right, with Jon Bernthal, right? I have never seen anything like this. This interview, link below, link below, link below. All right, so you don't have to watch that. I will give context in this one, but I highly recommend that you go watch it because it deserves to be watched for Jon Bernthal, he was doing, I think it's his podcast, Real Ones, right? With Jon Bernthal, right? But he's just interviewing Deborah Ann Woll, and let me talk about who these people are. So you've seen Jon Bernthal in something. He's in The Bear, which is the best show on television, bar none right now, except for Stranger Things. Yeah. All right. Sorry, I had to put an asterisk on that. And then he was on early seasons. He got killed. He was on early seasons of The Walking Dead. I don't need to give a spoiler warning for that. It's over a decade old. And so his character, he played kind of Rick. He played Rick's main nemesis, and this guy was kind of going after Rick's wife. And it was, yeah, and he's Jon Bernthal, and he played the Punisher. He plays the Punisher in Disney. He played the Punisher in Netflix's Marvel Daredevil, which an astonishing thing is happening. Those shows were, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it, those shows were garbage. I quit. I was like, I started watching them, and I was like, these are horrible. I just cannot watch this, right? And also I love the Punisher, and I just I couldn't even start it. I was like, I know this is gonna upset me. They're gonna change everything. And I actually collected I started collecting the Punisher, I think when I was about 10 years old, and I literally completed the entire line from 1 to 100, and then I sold it because our family needed, I sold it 15 years ago. But I loved the Punisher, and so I'd never even watched his show, right? Because I knew I did not like the Netflix Marvel shows. But what's incredible is Disney Plus is having the Netflix shows go forward. So Froggy and the Punisher and Deborah Ann Woll's character, I think she's the secretary. Yeah. So but this interview is astonishing. And I think more than any, and you have to watch it. It's history in the making for Dungeons and Dragons, because it's an extremely passionate Dungeons and Dragons dungeon master and dragon master, extremely skilled dungeon master and dragon master, and a canon Dungeons and Dragons author, explaining to the most base muggle you will ever, Jon Bernthal's about the last dude. You could tell, she's like, do you want to play Dungeons and Dragons? And he's like, I don't know. And he's very resistant because he's the prototypical, macho male, from oh, I'm tough. It's of course, yeah, he plays the Punisher, but also you kind of get the idea that, is he tough? You're like, I think he might be good at playing it, but I don't know if he's actually tough. And I think even and he kind of gives off vibes that he really portrays it well on screen, but you're like, I don't know, but it is the most passionate dragon master explaining Dungeons and Dragons to the most resistant person possible to play, right? Except maybe an evangelical Christian zealot from 1980s, but you need a time machine to get one of them. By the way, evangelical Christians don't really care about D&D today. They don't stop people from playing, right? Okay, that has changed. So what really astounded me, there were so, I take notes on things when, I was taking notes at I was transcribing it. It was so there were so many bangers in this thing, right? And so, but what I want to talk about today is, I always tell you, hey, Dungeons and Dragons is this incredibly valuable, right? Incredibly specific filter for the most important human beings on the planet. And I truly believe that. And I've often said the most charismatic, confident, intelligent, right? You've heard me say that before. It's the most important. We are the most important people in the world now. And the reason why is, I'm convinced only dungeon masters and only dragon masters can save the world, because no one expects them to. And every single institution that is expected to save America is failing and is no longer trusted. Every single institution. Journalism, government, science. Take the top institutions of those of those worlds. Nobody trusts them. They're like, I don't care what your output is. I don't trust any of your sources. I don't trust your funding. I don't trust anything. And it's on both sides, right? But dungeon masters and dragon masters are super brilliant, super capable, and super positioned to help the world, and nobody expects them to, right? So they have the ability and the will, and they don't bear the expectation or the distrust at this point, which is pretty astounding, right? And so why do I believe that? Well, Deborah Ann Woll, right? So Deborah Ann Woll, if you listen to this video, she's like, you know what? I just happen to be incredibly beautiful, and I just fell into Hollywood, but I really don't want to be here, right? I go to the parties, and get this, she goes to Hollywood parties, and she says this in an interview. She says, I go to Hollywood parties, and I end up in the kitchen washing dishes with the caterers. And I was like, what? Like, what did you just say? And if you listen to Deborah Ann Woll's video, she's like, oh, I have to be a Hollywood actress. I just have to, because, I'm beautiful and I can act, So it just kind of fell into it. I don't really like that, though. What my real jam is Dungeons & Dragons, right? But it's so weird that I can tell nobody about it. But people will listen to me because I'm incredibly beautiful and because I'm charismatic, confident, and intelligent, and heck, I'm pretty. Right? And she's like, she's not saying it with her words. She says it with everything else. But when she said, I go to a Hollywood party, right? And you're like, okay, so there's Tom Cruise in the other room, and you are going into the kitchen and washing dishes with the caterers, and that's my point. Gary built a filter for the most unique, the most incredible people on the planet. Like, Deborah Ann Woll is a diamond among diamonds, right? In Hollywood, you have literally the most beautiful people in the world. This is a woman who's like, I'm burdened with my beauty. She's astounding, right? And when I heard this, I was like, oh my gosh, she's a diamond among diamonds. It's astounding. You have to watch this interview. Every word of it is incredible. Listen to her passion for Dungeons & Dragons. Listen to the things she says. I was blown away by this interview, and also blown away by just how muggle Jon Bernthal is. I want to say, though, I'm so thankful to him for this interview, and also I'm kind of thankful for his muggle chops, right? Like that, he muggles hard. It was really bad. You gotta watch this thing. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.